Every 5 years or so, you get to put a cross on a piece of paper and hope for the best. This election, however, is different, in that it's the first to take place since the invention of the web. So what can an online community, well used to voicing opinions and making decisions on the net, expect this time round? Will we just be better informed voters, or empowered point-and-click Democrats? The 1996 American presidential election saw huge websites dedicated to the campaign from both candidates and news organizations. An estimated 11% of the voting public visited them at least once. In comparatively unwired Britain, the first general elections site, GE97, was launched last month by Online Magic in association with The Economist.
The experience in America was that the sites were bombarded on the final days of the election. Certainly we'll be taking precautions to make sure that we have sufficient network bandwidth and capacity to cope with audience demand. I think that as far as possible we want to be a complementary medium with the other media, and we want to complement the other sites, rather than just simply to throw up another competing site which apes old media and offers nothing different.
At least 4 other general election sites are expected to spring up as the campaign looms. The Guardian launches their site this week.
I think what's the really exciting thing, and what will be a real success, is if you can suddenly show people this is not politics as usual. This is politics where you can make intelligent decisions based on plenty of information, which is provided in a well-edited and reliable way by The Guardian.
What we can do is offer levels of interactivity. We can give a depth of coverage which isn't available with traditional media. We have forums where people can debate, and they'll be able to talk to politicians, debating the important issues of the day. We've got polling where people can come in and cast a vote on the issue of the day. They can cast a vote on a straw poll for the party they want to support, and we're asking people to contribute their thoughts, their ideas on the various constituency campaigns going on around the country. A site like this provides a medium for them to participate in a way that ordinarily they'd just spectate.
So when people read The Guardian and say, OK, I'm going to have a look at the online Guardian, if you like, what extra stuff are they going to be getting?
Well, it's not so much about extra stuff. I mean, what we will have on the site is we will have details of every party, every constituency, all the big issues, all the major party stances on all the issues. We'll have interactive sections where people can discuss all the big policy areas, can even play daily quizzes and games. We're going to have a history section so people can look at coverage of all the elections since 1945. And it's not just about covering these things, because a lot of this coverage will appear in the newspaper throughout the time. But it's being able to get exactly what you want, when you want, and that's what the website will offer.
Just providing more information for online voters is one thing, but is there anything that the interactive nature of the web can bring to the democratic process itself? Pressure group UK Citizens Online Democracy believes there is.
We've got a speciality, and that is bringing politicians together around a virtual table, so that politicians can have the opportunity to answer questions about particular political topics, and that the public can then interact with the politicians. So this will be a first time for us here in this country with something quite as complex as this, because we've got 13 national parties involved. We started off from the premise that we're not trying to change the system of democracy, we're just trying to enhance it and improve it. I think that it'll be very interesting to see how politicians, who are after all full-time paid to look after our interests, will respond to this new challenge, because it will be a challenge for them, and I think some of them will meet it very successfully and others will fall by the wayside.
But if the number of politicians with email addresses is anything to go by, the prospects aren't heartening. Only 51 out of 650. One politician who is online and even has his own website is Labour's advisor on the information superhighway, Stephen Timms.
At the moment, there is a cynicism which potentially is quite dangerous for the future if people don't think our democracy is worth taking part in. And the new technologies seem to me to offer perhaps the best hope that we can give people that stake in the way Britain is run.
Encouraging people to participate in the current system by emailing their representatives is one thing. But how does an MP feel about the more radical approach of direct democracy? Do you think we'll ever get to vote directly on issues via online technologies?
Well, I think online referenda as a means of gauging public opinion, they have some value. I would be nervous about them becoming a means by which we directly make decisions, because I'm not convinced that they reflect the considered views of the people taking part. I think we, in making our decisions about laws, need to have a more considered process than that.
Online referenda via phone, the net or digital TV are technically feasible. Perhaps one of the reasons why MPs are instinctively hostile is that direct democracy would put them out of a job. But with participation rates in the electoral process at an all-time low, there have to be other possibilities. Architect and designer Alex McLean is developing a virtual reality parliament for the internet.
I think politicians are still fairly sceptical about this sort of technology on the whole, and if you show them a virtual reality model, obviously there's still a certain amount of amusement about what this might mean for Parliament in the future. In the next few years we're going to see a lot more people able to access this sort of technology. It's going to become a lot more run-of-the-mill. And if VR presents a friendly front end for all those, that information database and for all those communications, then maybe it'll help get the public involved. It'll actually engage them. It'll give them something more interesting to look at.
Well, Alex, this is your virtual parliament. Can you just actually show me how it works? Take me through it, as it were.
Okay. Media organisations, MPs and Parliament itself could have notice boards where they put in new information, update it, like web pages. The idea is to have a live video link.
So what about actual interaction with MPs?
You would see the images of the politicians who are taking part in that debate. Click on those images and you're into the email debate. The version on the net that we'll be developing is going to contain avatars so that you will actually have a virtual representation in that space.
So you could actually be chatting to John Major without knowing
and not actually knowing it, yeah.
What a great idea. The chances of speaking directly to John Major this election are next to zero. British politics still worships the old ways of the TV soundbite and the parliamentary slanging match. And although the main parties now have large websites, they tend to exist as campaign bandwagon machines with flash multimedia tools being used to slag off the other side. But with large numbers of people now exercising more and more of their decisions online, digital democracy will surely find its place.
Now, it may be that you are just concerned about the number of sleeping policemen in the local streets, in which case it should be possible for you to enter a discussion of people with like mind, and that your local elected representatives, because I think local would be more appropriate for that kind of subject, would be able to take note. So it would be a way for our politicians to gauge what public opinion is, like an enormous postbag, but a public postbag, so that everybody can see